I-49 male will keep this as short as possible, but basically, my stepdaughter Leah, 25, wants to marry her boyfriend Dylan, 25. I had the money to pay for the wedding, so what could possibly go wrong? Well, her deadbeat father, 54, who has never been in the picture her whole life, never took care of his daughter, and never paid child support, according to my fiancé, wants to walk her down the aisle. My stepdaughter was never rude to me and always showed respect, so I always showed respect for her and bought all the necessities she needed, maybe too much. Now looking back, I am just a darn ATM. I was paying $200K for her wedding, so about $257K, and asked for my mother and Leah's 2 siblings to receive invitations since they are her siblings. The invitations came around, and my stepdaughter informed me that she didn't want any children at her wedding, but that seemed odd to me because my fiancé's sister's children were invited, so I asked Leah why weren't her own siblings invited, and she said it was just a mistake. Also, the wedding was over 400 people, and yet my own mother couldn't be invited? Probably a red flag, but we moved on. A few days later, Leah's soon-to-be in-laws came to my house for dinner, and they asked her who was going to walk her down the aisle. My stepdaughter announced it was her deadbeat clown of a father. She always told me I would walk her down the aisle, and then proceeded to lie and humiliate me in front of the guest. My fiancé was in shock, but Leah kept talking about how they had been in touch and that he was her true father. At that point, I lost it. I announced that her real father could pay for the wedding. He can't, LOL, since I was just a check for my stepdaughter. Leah started screaming at me, and all the guests left the house. My fiancé wasn't too happy, stating that I humiliated her in front of Leah's soon-to-be in-laws, and they spent a year planning, so I can't cancel. I said I wasted $200K on an ungrateful brat and spewed insults toward her father. So, am I the idiot for not paying for my stepdaughter's wedding? Edit. I want to clarify a few things briefly. I was never married to my fiancé, hence why I called her fiancé. I will admit this. I didn't want to marry my fiancé because 20 years ago, I was destroyed financially. I survived because my father gave me a better position at work, and I got his inheritance a few years later. While I wish I still had a father figure, I thank him for saving my life. I've been with her for 15 years and raised Leah as my own child, but I guess I'm an idiot because I promised her I would marry her, but now I feel no regret I never did. OP, you are not the idiot, but who the heck pays $275K on a wedding? That's a ridiculous amount of money to spend on a wedding. What a colossal waste of money. You're blowing 4 times the average annual family income so that a couple of ungrateful 20-somethings can throw a party? Geez, donate 10% of that to a food bank and help someone who will appreciate it. If he's throwing away $200K on a wedding, just imagine how much he spent on her and why she's so entitled and such a brat. The fact she's comfortable taking that money from you, but doesn't see you as the primary father figure in her life, heavily indicates that she and your fiancé are taking advantage of you. You aren't married to your stepdaughter's mother yet, and they want you to splash $257,000 on a wedding, which is insane. Please don't do this. You can do whatever you want with your money, but this is just a big red flag. $257,000 is a lot of money. Why waste it on your stepdaughter, who clearly doesn't understand what a real dad is? You are a real dad to her, not her deadbeat father. Also, what if you paid for this wedding? Then you and your fiancé break up, and then she and her daughter want nothing to do with you. It's a really difficult situation. Petty person here. If you paid for it and can't get a refund, I would still cancel the order or change the delivery address. Catering's paid for and no refund? Cancel or change the delivery address to a local shelter. Flowers paid for? Change the address to a local hospital. She sees you as an ATM. Update. Am I the idiot for not paying for my stepdaughter's wedding? If you want a quick summary, here it is. I'm refusing to pay for my stepdaughter's wedding, as she lied to me that I would walk her down the aisle, and that instead, she told her in-laws at dinner, while I was present, that she wants her deadbeat father to walk her down the aisle, who my fiancé also claimed was verbally abusive and refused to pay child support. Lots of crap has happened in these past few days, and we have much to talk about. I probably should have mentioned this in my previous post, but I had nothing to do with the planning, nor did I want anything to do with the planning. It was all my fiancé and Leah's planning. Many of you were concerned with the price of the wedding, and you guys made me concerned too. Some of you requested I asked my fiancé about the wedding planning, and I concluded that I've just been a check to my fiancé and stepdaughter this entire time. In the planning, the actual wedding itself would cost $40K, which I can understand, as there are over 400 guests and we're South Asian. The rest, $160K, was spent on a honeymoon to Dubai. The list of people. It contained my fiancé and her sister's family, Leah and her man Dylan, along with his parents. And this just disgusts me the most, her deadbeat father. At that point, I went ballistic. I never agreed to pay for the honeymoon, only the wedding, and a honeymoon should be for the newlyweds. But my fiancé said this so calmly, without any regret, that she expected me to be okay paying for other people's holidays because we're family. How could she possibly be sane to think it was a rational idea to invite the man who she claimed refused to pay child support and was verbally abusive? I lost my cool and I told her that she and her daughter took advantage of my money and was selfish to leave her 2 young children alone with me. I work 45 hours a week at my business and decided it would be a good idea to invite her deadbeat ex, who tried to lay his hands on me years ago. She responded by saying that it was Leah's idea. I then replied, "You and your daughter have 7 days to get out of my house." She started her circus, and there was no going back. I then began moving forward, changing all of my card pins so no more of my money could be used, and started the refund process. I contacted the venues, and they were nice and offered a refund, but it'll take a couple of working days, maybe weeks, for a refund. As for the tickets to Dubai, well, let's just say I'm lucky, as I was able to refund the tickets, $75K, since I was still in fair conditions while the tickets were unused. It hurts so much thinking how these people, who haven't worked as hard as I have, thought it would be a good idea to use my money on a first-class ticket to Dubai. My fiancé told her daughter that I refunded the wedding, and she didn't take it well. I won't go into too much detail, as I've talked long enough, but I was petty at the end and said that her real dad could pay for it. This has been a crap show of a couple of days. I can't see my 2 young children every day now, and I've lost my fiancé. However, some good news. My oldest son, 25, gave his newborn son my surname, which made me smile. At least someone appreciates me. Anyway, I'll take my kids to Dubai. Who doesn't love petty revenge? $200K for a wedding and honeymoon? Holy entitled bridezilla balls. So glad you looked into it. The silly girl has screwed herself over being a greedy entitled person. I'm super petty with people like them. Take your kids on a lovely trip to Dubai. $160K for a holiday? So they were all going to Dubai, including the ex-husband, leaving you and the 2 younger children at home? What? Your fiancée and her family must have thought they hit the jackpot. Glad you nipped it in the bud. I'm sure fiancé's now realizing she played her hand too far. So inconsiderate. This is Matrix-level bullet dodging. Honeymoon and the whole family's going? It's a family trip, bruh. Use some of that money on a lawyer and watch your ex crash and burn due to her own greed. I'd block anyone but the ex, and that's just so you can discuss the kids. I suggest a DNA test. Dollars to donuts, ex is banging him. You're so not the idiot, it's amazing. Screw those crappy people, dude. You deserve far better. Final update. Am I the idiot for not paying for my stepdaughter's wedding? I've gotten petty revenge on my stepdaughter and ex-fiancé by going on their dream holiday with my kids. My ex and her daughter picked a really good place to have a honeymoon. Shame it didn't work out too well. I've had the time of my life with my loved ones while they beg for forgiveness despite lying to me. Firstly, as soon as I kicked my ex and her daughter out of my house, they went to social media to accuse me of controlling them with my wealth and being petty over canceling the wedding because of small issues. But they didn't include the fact that I never agreed to pay for a honeymoon. However, my ex has changed her mind quickly, and now she's begging me to take her back. My ex's side of the family is sending me threats, but I really don't care. Secondly, I lost about $2,000 in total on refunding wedding stuff, which I believe is, of course, expensive, but overall a win, considering how I initially predicted I would lose $15 to $20K. I thank my ex and her daughter for not spending $200K on a wedding, but on plane tickets to Dubai. They saved me lots of money. Thirdly, my stepdaughter somehow found this post. She is truly a hypocrite for suggesting that I should take down my post when she has a fake Facebook post blurting false facts. Fourthly, my kids are staying with me, and they want to stay with me long term. My ex and her daughter went from a luxurious, lavish lifestyle to a cheap apartment, and my kids want to stay with me as long as they can, which is a problem I need to solve since I work many hours. Finally, Leah and Dylan broke up because false promises of a nice wedding and honeymoon to Dubai are all gone. Her now ex-fiancé accused her and my ex of theft. I may have told him and his family about what they planned and other things. I've truly got lots of respect for Dylan. He completely understood my perspective, and I can't thank him enough. My stepdaughter and my ex came into my house, thanks to my younger children opening the door for them, and it turned into a shouting match that ended with me threatening to call the cops. They left the house blaming me for everything, and I said, "Get your real dad to pay for the wedding and honeymoon." I also told them that I was going to Dubai with my kids, and they didn't take that well. I wished I could cut off my ex, but unfortunately, she is the mother of my 2 children. I forgot to mention that my ex's boyfriend came to my house, half intoxicated, and said that I was using my wealth to do whatever I wanted. And he said in his intoxicated British accent that he was shagging my bird. So I'm definitely getting CCTV. Even if my ex was actually having an affair, she isn't my problem anymore. She can go be with that intoxicated freak and live her consequences. This surely is the final update, but if it isn't, then it's a lawsuit next time. OP, you're a stronger man than me. Kudos for how you've handled this. I would have gone completely scorched earth. They have no one to blame but themselves for the way they've handled this entire situation and what life has in store for them. Live your life with your kids as best you can, and don't let those toxic dumpster fires try to twist things to them. The moment you said the deadbeat dad was invited on the honeymoon, I knew immediately that he and your fiancé were having an affair. Sorry for all of this, but good on you for not taking that nonsense. They made their bed and they can sleep in it. Like, have a bit of respect for someone who's paying for your lavish lifestyle. Having people who have narcissistic traits is the worst thing ever, from my experience. You really dodged a bullet on that one. Go for sole custody of your kids. I, 32 female, have an autistic child, Alex, young grammar school age. Due to a family emergency, we had to fly to a different country, and the flight was quite long, 6+ hours. Due to Alex's condition, I usually try to pack some food for them to eat, as Alex is a very picky eater and has a full-on meltdown if hungry. Unfortunately, one of the foods Alex likes is peanuts. The other is a very rare flavor of crisp and a chocolate of a specific brand. On top of that, I usually have other foods like puree for Alex in my bag. As I mentioned, we only had to fly due to a family emergency, and nobody in my family agreed to watch Alex in my absence, so I had to take him with me. On our way back, the airline lost our luggage, so I couldn't get proper food for Alex in between the flights. I bought a large bag of peanuts so they had something to eat. We had a special meal ordered for Alex, too, but for some reason, the crew gave it to someone else on the plane. So there was nothing for Alex to eat except peanuts. They had nothing to replace it with. At the start of the flight, an announcement was made for nobody to eat peanuts due to someone with an allergy present. After the takeoff, I asked the flight attendant where the person with allergies was located so we could sit in different ends of the plane. The flight attendant refused to answer, and after Alex's food hadn't arrived, I had no choice but to let Alex have the peanuts to prevent a meltdown for the next few hours. The flight attendant wasn't happy and tried to stop me, but I reminded her that they left my child without her meal and gave it to someone else. After the landing, a couple sitting a few rows behind me called me an idiot for putting their lives in danger, even when I tried to explain what had happened. When I was venting to my sister later, she agreed with them. Am I the idiot for letting my child eat peanuts when someone was allergic to them on board? You are the idiot. The airline sucks too, but we can all agree that a meltdown is much better than an anaphylactic reaction at 30,000 feet. Literal potential death beats the meltdown of your child, OP. I also have an autistic child who loved their peanut butter sandwiches. When both my two were younger, I never allowed them to take any nut product out of the house due to others who may have allergies that we come in contact with. You thought that your child's comfort and you not having to deal with a meltdown was more important than possibly killing a fellow passenger and the plane maybe making an emergency landing. Well done. Learn to do better next time. I, 19 female, have been dating my boyfriend, 25, for 9 months, and I love him a lot. However, we had a disagreement on Friday night, which made me question our relationship. The two of us went to have drinks at his friend's house, and he wanted to introduce me to some of his friends that I still hadn't met yet. During the night, we were all pretty intoxicated, and we were playing some music. I heard my favorite song and tried to get my boyfriend to dance with me. No one was dancing, just sitting around and talking, but I loved the song and was in a great mood, so I asked my boyfriend to dance. He kept saying no, so I started dancing alone and laughing. Soon another girl who was there grabbed my hands, and we started dancing. I have no sense of rhythm, so it probably looked awful. When we left the house, my boyfriend was really cold with me. I asked him why, and he said that I'd embarrassed him in front of his friends by the way I acted. He said he just wanted me to act normal and that I'd acted out for attention. I feel so hurt by what he said, but also guilty. I can see why it would be embarrassing if your girlfriend started dancing like a maniac out of nowhere. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. More people should dance joyfully to their favorite songs. You weren't embarrassing. He chose to be embarrassed. Don't let him muffle your joy. Ask yourself if this is a one-off, or is he frequently embarrassed by you? Your dancing hardly seems like justification for the frigid shoulder. You should rethink your relationship if he doesn't find your occasional goofiness endearing. I dulled my sparkle for my boyfriend of 5 years. Everything I did and all the parts of my personality he didn't like came back. No one else in my life had issues with anything he didn't like. It isn't you, it's him. OP, don't shave off pieces of yourself for anyone. If he doesn't like who you are, he's not the right person for you. Even if your feelings feel strong and overwhelming right now, fitting yourself into the space he leaves for you will only harm you and cause you heartache in the future until you do get out. Well, I think no idiots here. If the boyfriend were the one posting, I'd tell him that if he didn't want his girlfriend to act like a teenager, he shouldn't date one. That's not a slam against you being a 19-year-old, just that there's a difference between 19 and 25-year-olds. It's possible the two of you aren't compatible. The issue is the difference in ages and maturity. How is dancing to a song you like acting like a teenager? My wife and I are in our 50s, and I would not think it childish if anyone at any party wanted to dance to a great song. The boyfriend sounds boring, insecure, and toxic, really. Girl, find someone who actually enjoys you, and beware of those who kill your harmless happiness.